Pound for pound, Jurgen Klopp is a more successful manager than Pep Guardiola. Hopefully Todd Bohely can lead Chelsea to Premier League glory. I do think he will. It's a special competition, all three of them. They're special. They're different. They're unique. There's not a structure, there's not a playoff system, there's nothing in the world that compares to these nights. Nothing in the world. Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 19 of the Two-Footed Tackle podcast. I'm your host, Ari Stamatakos, as always, and I hope you all had a fantastic week as we are about to delve into the world that was the weekend's footballing actions. Now, before we start, I ask very kindly of you all to follow all the Two-Footed Tackle podcast socials. You have Two-Footed Tackle podcast on Instagram and TikTok, 2FTPod on Twitter. They're all the socials I'm on. What about podcast platforms? If you want to listen to this podcast on all platforms available, those platforms are Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and Anchor as well. Give them all a follow on their 5-star rating, whatever the rating system is on whatever platform you're using. Give it a 5-star or the equivalent to would be very much appreciated. And then the YouTube as well, Two-Footed Tackle podcast for clips, for full episodes, for just a whole bunch more Two-Footed Tackle podcast content. If you were to give it a like and a subscribe as well on that'd be very much appreciated, and putting in the post notification bell on as well so you don't miss every time a clip goes live or even a podcast goes live for that matter. Now, I hope the week treated yous well. Oh, that is poor from me. Yous, come on, I'm a better English speaker than that. I hope the week treated everyone nicely. I hope everything went well. It certainly did for me. I had a fantastic weekend. You could probably tell in my voice that it's slightly gone / not there, and probably my eyes are very tired. I'm very tired. So if there's yawning in this episode, please forgive it. I haven't really slept. And also the wrestling started at 9 a.m. this morning, or 10 a.m. So, I mean, trying to balance a social life, watching the soccer, so I have my facts and my information on point for this podcast and for the articles, all right? And also watching wrestling, which I don't even know why I watch WWE, because it's shit. But trying to balance all that whilst loving sleep doesn't really go together. So I am running on about, give or take 6 hours, under 6 hours sleep, and I need 8 to function. So if you can tell in my voice that it's slightly not there, or the bags under my eyes, tell a different story. I'll tell the same story, but in a different way. Now, enough of my fucking nonsense. Let's get on to the football. Now, there was a lot that happened in between. In the time that since we last spoke, there was some European football, which we'll definitely speak on. There was a detour, if you'd call it that, or a curveball in the title race. There was an Australian winning the league, or 2 Australians winning the league, actually. There was a new chairman that bought a really famous club, and then obviously we got the who went in two-footed, and obviously the preview of the week. Now, I think let's start with what's in the title, and let's start with that. And I want to speak about this in 2 sections. Now, I've got down here 2 talking points. One's a quick title race chat. Now, obviously, Liverpool are the first team to falter in this final sprint. They have slowed down by 1/10 of a second, if you want to use a sprinting term, and it was a 1-1 draw at at home against Spurs. It was surprising, I think, is a good way to describe it, because of how almost unstoppable Liverpool have been in recent times. Obviously, made the Champions League final. They haven't dropped points, or they haven't dropped points since the City game, and they haven't lost in the league since God knows the last time they lost in the league. So yeah, it was a typical Antonio Conte performance, and I said this last week. I said that with the right signings, Conte can challenge for the league next season. We've got some flack on that, especially on TikTok, so thank you all for the lovely feedback. But no, I mean, this game proves it. They have a game style, they have a way of playing, and if Conte can buy the players that suits that game style, that could be anything, man, because he's such a good manager. But this isn't about Tottenham, this is about Liverpool. And I thought Liverpool were poor. I thought they were poor. Surprisingly poor at that. I thought they had chances to score early on. I felt like they had the foothold of the game. I felt like they were conceding too many chances on the counter-attack. I didn't think that they were as solid defensively as what they have been. Despite I know obviously they're not the best defensive team in the world by any means, but they are very proactive to potential counter-attacks. I felt that Spurs were able to get in behind them a little bit more, get in those pockets of space behind the fullbacks, and really challenge Liverpool on a defensive side of things. And I don't think Liverpool had the potency in attack. I feel like obviously Salah's been off form. It was, I mean, after the Luis Diaz goal, which deflected in. I mean, I'm not sure whether it was going to go in without the deflection. Who knows, right? But the fact that they were just lumping balls into the box for the best part of half an hour, 20 minutes, without bringing on Divock Origi, crossing it into like Jota, and I can't even remember who got subbed on at that stage, but it was. I feel like Klopp may have lost them or may have dropped them these points. I feel like if they had played the way that they normally play and the normal substitutions are made, I feel like it would have been a different story. I mean, they were crossing balls into 4, with all due respect, midgets, right? They didn't bring Origi on. They didn't try and maybe put Van Dijk or like Matip forward or whatever, right? They were just hoping that these crosses would work. And I know obviously that's been a massive avenue for success for Liverpool, obviously, because you've got Robertson and Alexander-Arnold who are masters in that field. But there was just something off about Liverpool this game. There was just something off, and Spurs made them pay. Beautiful counter-attack goal. And then they held on for their lives. Full credit to them. Full credit to what they were able to achieve, because I feel like no one gave them a chance in that game. But it was a sound performance from Tottenham, and Liverpool would be very, very disappointed because I called it. I said I didn't think they'd drop points from now to the end from I think it was the City game to the end of the season. I thought that they were going to be the team that won every game and City were going to falter. But in the matter of, in a week really, because I still thought that up until last week, over a weekend, it has completely flipped to the opposite, because you move to City, and you move to City sides of things, a dominant performance against Newcastle, 5-0. And I say dominant performance, and I actually don't really agree with that, because, I do, because they won 5-0, and you can't win 5-0 by luck. But I feel like Newcastle had chances in this game. I feel like, Eddie Howe has got this team. The clip, I posted a clip a couple of weeks back. Go watch it if you want my full breakdown of Newcastle and how Eddie Howe has transformed them. It's on the YouTube channel. But yeah, Eddie Howe's got them playing really, really sound football. And I feel like they're so close to being really good. I feel like they're this close to breaking over the edge and being a top 6 team. I do genuinely believe that. With the right signings, with the right backing, with the right mentality in that team, that could easily be top 8, top 7 next season. So anyway, not about Newcastle, about City, and they looked in cruise control even when they were struggling. It was weird. It felt like they were never gonna drop points in that game, despite Newcastle having big chances. And I think that's a credit to Pep Guardiola, it's a credit to Manchester City, and they ran out 5-0 winners. I know 2 goals in stoppage time, which, all right, 3-0 victors. Who really cares at that stage? But it was a good goal bonus. It was a good goal difference bonus for them. Now it's going to take something magical for Liverpool to win the league from here. It's going to take something something extraordinary from both Liverpool and both City to win the league from here, because City needed that goal difference and they got it. I'm pretty sure that was probably the method behind the two late goals, is that we just need goal difference, right? So now City are 3 points ahead with a +4 goal difference. And City's run home is Wolves away, West Ham away, Villa at home. Whereas Liverpool travel to Aston Villa, travel to Southampton, host Wolves, and in between that they have a Champions League final. I mean, a FA Cup and Champions League final to worry about. I mean, if anyone can do it, and if anyone can do the quadruple, it's this Liverpool team. And I was listening to the James and Flav for Now podcast, and I'm pretty sure if you're listening to this, you would probably have heard of James Allcott. If not, go check him out. He's my idol, right? My inspiration. The reason I started this podcast. Anyway, I was listening to his podcast, and they posed the question: has the quadruple never been easier to win? And I would have to agree, to be honest, because the way that this Liverpool team, and I'm not saying just Liverpool, and I'm not saying that the quadruple is easier to win purely from a Liverpool perspective, but they just have, I feel like the quadruple now is easier to win because of a lot of reasons, and one of them is money, obviously, because more money creates more resources creates that flow-on effect, right? But also the science behind sport now is astronomically better than what it was 10 years ago, or 10 years ago, and even as far back as 20 years ago, right? So when United do the treble in 99, 99, that is amazing. And I don't, has that even been replicated since? I don't quite know. I know Chelsea won the double in 2010, but I don't know if the treble. I mean, teams have won trebles, right? But the treble, I'm not sure that's been completed in English football since. So for that to be 20 years ago, and it's still an incredible achievement, despite the fact that the quadruple is still easier to win now than it has ever been before, is quite staggering. And also, I think the golfing class now is so much different to what it was 20 years ago. Because 20 years ago, you had, I mean, not any team could win the Premier League, or not any team could win the Champions League. But you have upsets. Yeah, obviously you had Monaco and Porto making the final in 2004. Whereas now, it is money. It is almost the most expensive squad wins the league. The most expensive squad wins the Champions League. I know there's exceptions to every rule, whatever. But I do think if Liverpool are ever going to win the quadruple, I feel like now's the time, because as much as it's easiest to win now, I feel like this is the easiest it's going to be right now. Because you had that sugar high of Chelsea investing, PSG investing, Man City investing, where the golfing class was probably at its highest maybe 5 years ago. And now it's plateauing. You have sides who have developed different ways to build squads and through the youth academy and etc. And now more teams are getting investment, more teams are getting that financial backing. So it's going to start to level out. So I think this season is probably the easiest season to win the quadruple potentially ever. And that's not saying that Liverpool should do it. And that's not saying that Liverpool, if they don't do it, Liverpool are a failure or Klopp's a failure. But it is just an interesting talking point to see where the golfing class and where the golfing quality over football has progressed from 20 to 10 to 5 years ago to now. I do think this is the last of the dominant teams. I feel like from now on, from this season onwards, more teams are getting investment, and I feel like financial restrictions are going to slowly be cracked down on, so teams can't spend $1 billion, right? Every transfer window. But I do think this is the easiest it's ever going to be to win the quadruple. So if Liverpool do it, fair due to them. It's obviously going to be the best achievement in potentially football history. And this Liverpool team, if they somehow do it, are going to be the best football team potentially ever. So, I mean, it is an interesting talking point. I might get murdered in the comments if this goes up as a clip. It probably will go up as a clip. But, yeah. So now, and I'm not going to stop speaking about Liverpool and City just yet, because I want to go to a talking point which could be very controversial, and my throat's currently dying. So let me have a sip of water and then I'll get back to that. Now, alright, my throat is dying because I'm so tired. Anyway, I've put down a question here and I wanted to speak about it pretty in-depthly. And I wanted to speak about City and Liverpool pretty in-depthly in this podcast, as you can tell by the title. It is this question: who has had more success relative to their club's expectations over their time at their respective club? Pep or Klopp? Now, if you want to speak about who's had more success, now, okay, I'll dive into the question, but I wanna answer why I thought of this question. The reason I thought of this question is I thought of this when Liverpool qualified for the Champions League final, and I saw it on other podcasts as well, and I saw it being talked about quite a bit. This question really needs to be understood, and people are going to be really reactive as soon as I give my answer to this question. But just understand the question first, and really understand what this is trying to make, because it's a pretty in-depth question if you think about it. Relative to their club's success, or to their club's expectations rather, who has had more success over their time at the club, Klopp or Pep? Now, obviously, Pep, countless trophies, Premier Leagues, League Cups, one FA Cup, I think, but no Champions Leagues. Now, Manchester City obviously have infinite money that they spend on infinite things. So, for them, the Premier League, I mean, the Carabao Cup to them is nothing, and even the FA Cup to an extent is nothing, right? I know I think they've only won one FA Cup in Pep's time, I'm pretty sure. So you take that into account, sure, and then the Premier League is almost the expectation. The Premier League is almost there in terms of what City are achieving, in terms of that's there. So in terms of that's there, meaning like that is the expectation to win the league. You're not going above the expectations by winning the league. So scratch that. Whereas Klopp, he came into a Liverpool team that was shot. He had fucking Moreno and Sacco and Skirtle and Kolo Touré and like all these, like Balotelli and Jordan Ibe and all these guys, right? Which are good players, but not the Mo Salah and Luis Diaz and Thiago and all these players have now. So his expectations were to get Liverpool competitive again. And they still are, to an extent, those expectations. He has gone beyond his expectations whilst at Liverpool. That is fact. They won the league, they won the Champions League, and they're probably going to win the Champions League again this season. They've got the chance of doing a quadruple. So I know that chance is dwindling slowly, and we spoke about that just before, the circumstances in which that happened, or that could happen. But relative to their club's expectations, so what I mean by that is, I think I explained it just before, but if your expectation is to win the Champions League, winning the Premier League doesn't go beyond those expectations, doesn't make you successful in terms of what you are required to do. So relative to their club's expectations, Jurgen Klopp is a far more successful manager than Pep Guardiola. Yeah, so like Liverpool's expectation when Klopp came in was to maintain competitiveness and then build this team up. He's built them up and taken them beyond that. Pep was to win the league. So Pep's won the league already. That's fine. He's won the league countless times. But with the amount of money they've spent and what they want to do to break that wall down between being a good club to an elite club is by winning the Champions League. And Pep has shown time and time again that Pep Guardiola is a failure in European competitions, especially in recent times. He won it with Barcelona, but then again, I think I could have won it with that Barcelona team, with all due respect. Went to Bayern Munich, couldn't win it. He's gone to Manchester City, has spent about $4 billion on that team, and hasn't won it yet. And I don't think he will win it. So, I'll reiterate this once again, because I feel like it needs to be understood. Relative to their club's expectations, Jurgen Klopp is a far more successful manager than Pep Guardiola. Based on their time at their respective clubs, based on what their clubs want them to do. That is fact. And if you want to speak about successful managers in terms of total trophies they've won, well then it's not a question. I can't even debate that. But relative to their club's expectations, Klopp is far, far, far ahead than Pep Guardiola. And I feel like Klopp has a lot more time left at his club than Pep Guardiola does. No disrespect to Pep. He certainly isn't a failure. He certainly isn't successful. But Klopp is more successful than Pep Guardiola based on his club's expectations. And I feel like that's the measuring stick in which you need to adjudicate and judge these things, because then there's only this many managers in the world, in the history of football, that can be deemed successful. But you need to take into account their circumstances and their expectations. That's the true measure of success. Because, you look at Mo Farah, Olympic marathon runner, and you look at me, right? Me. Mo Farah wins an Olympic marathon. That's great. He does that. Does he run the marathon? Usain Bolt. Let's go Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt, 100-meter sprinter, best in the world, well, not anymore, but best ever, right? If he wins an Olympic gold medal in the 100-meter sprint, that is his expectation. Whereas if I get a silver medal in that same race, I am more successful pound for pound than Usain Bolt, because based on my expectations, I should not even be in the Olympics in a 100-meter sprint. But if I win a silver medal, as I am right now, that is far beyond the expectations of me and everyone else for me. Whereas Usain Bolt is expected to win the gold medal. So, unless he breaks the world record, he can't go above his expectations. Yes, I know that's because he's so good. And that's because he's leveled up that expectations as his career's progressed, which makes him better. But Pep hasn't built his expectations at City before he came. City were already winning Premier Leagues before Pep Guardiola came. Jurgen Klopp, or Liverpool weren't winning Champions Leagues before Jurgen Klopp came. I know obviously they did, but you know what I mean. Please understand what I mean by that. Like, obviously they did, but not that team in that era. City had won the league 2 seasons before Pep came. It was a decade since Liverpool won the Champions League, and it was like 2007 was the last time they'd won a major trophy, I think. 2008 even. So, based on that theory and that idea of thinking, and that method of thinking rather, Jurgen Klopp is a far more successful manager at his club than Pep Guardiola. Now, if you want to translate that into their whole career, I feel like that's a debate that you could very, very well have, because based off where Jurgen Klopp's come from, the teams he's had, the investment he's had, compared to Pep, where he's come from, the teams he's had, the investment he's had. If you give a man a yacht, he's going to get to his destination quicker than a man in a wooden boat. That's just fact. So, if the man in the wooden boat gets there 3 hours earlier than he's expected to get to that island, he's more successful than that bloke in a yacht who just got there on time. That's the method of thinking. I think the best way of describing this is pound for pound. Obviously, that's an MMA term and a boxing term and a combat sport term. But pound for pound, Jurgen Klopp is a more successful manager than Pep Guardiola at their time at their respective clubs. I feel like I hope I was able to articulate my thought process well in that. It is a strange concept to think about, but if you try and understand that question, I'm still trying to understand that question fully now. That's why I wanted to speak about it to fully grasp what it means. But yeah, Pep Guardiola is not as a successful manager as Jurgen Klopp, based on Man City's expectations to Liverpool's expectations. I hope that makes sense, and I hope that that's wrapped up the title race chat well for this episode anyway. Now, I mean, if Pep Guardiola wins 6 Champions Leagues in a row, then yeah, fair goes. I mean, I can't have that. But then again, if Jurgen Klopp wins the quadruple this season, I think you can just say he's the more successful manager, period, based on that. But anyway, I had that conversation now, so let's move on. Before I tie myself into further knots, and let's move on to the European football, because there was some semi-finals, weren't there? And I want to speak about one thing in particular. Now, a couple of episodes back, I say a couple, maybe it was the episode after the first legs of the Champions League knockout stage, in particular the PSG Real Madrid first leg. Now, I want to put my hands up. In that episode, I said, I can't remember what episode it was. It might have been episode 10 or 9. No, it would have been 10 or 11, I think. Maybe, okay, just around about that time. Or go on my TikTok and scroll down and you'll see it. You'll see the clip of me talking about this thing. Now, I said that basically, I think, and I quote, it was something along the lines of, we're going to see the Champions League become very, very boring very, very quickly. All Champions League and Europa League. I want to put my hands up and admit I was so wrong at this stage. I was so wrong, because this European semi-final, or these semi-finals, have proven this has been one of the most exciting seasons of European football in a long, long, long time. I don't think there has been more thrills and more drama in a long time. This has been phenomenal to watch, and I'll put my hands up. I was wrong. So fair play to everyone that called the excitement early. I know there was a couple, especially in the TikTok comments. Full respect to you guys. You guys called it better than I did. So fair dues to you. But I mean, it has been some tournament in both the Europa League and Champions League, and I think it was typified by the Man City versus Real Madrid second leg. That is what makes European nights. That is what makes European nights. It is the best competition in the best sport in the world. Fact. There is not a competition like it. Those European nights, man, there's something else. And when there's history, when there's prestige, when there's history, when there's bragging rights on the line, regardless of a place in the final. But you have Real Madrid, who are the underdog team, but have this rich history, have this prestige, which cut with Carlo Ancelotti as manager, Benzema in the form of his life, Luka Modric still playing world-class football at 85 years old. That underdog yet classy team that's in Real Madrid. And then you have this ruthless juggernaut in terms of like money juggernaut that's Manchester City, who have ripped every team to shreds this season. To see them come together and play a two-legged affair, which is probably one of the best two-legged ties in European history. I mean, it's up there with Liverpool, Barcelona a couple seasons back. it's up there with a lot, right? To see them come together and in the way that it unfolded, 2 goals in 60 seconds in the last 4 minutes of the game, it is marvelous. Like I'm struggling to come to terms with how just unbelievable that tie was, and just how unbelievable what happened. It is now obviously a Real Madrid-Liverpool final. Obviously, Liverpool got through in a game which wasn't as comfortable as what Liverpool fans wanted it to be, but they got through nonetheless. They got through comfortably in the end. And it's going to be a rematch of that Champions League final in Kiev. The Gareth Bale Champions League final, the Loris Karius Champions League final, the Mo Salah Champions League final, the whatever final you want to call it. It's a rematch of that game, and there is a certain little Egyptian maestro who will be out for revenge. I can guarantee it. And despite how poor he's been, and despite how underwhelming he's been, especially in the last couple of months, I feel like we're going to see a different Mo Salah that game. And I won't give my prediction of it yet because it's a month away, right? So I'll let it brew in the back of my mind. I'll think about it sporadically, and then we'll do a very, very in-depth preview of that game as well as the Europa League final in a couple of episodes down the track when it's a week before that, the respective finals. Now, obviously, the Europa League final was announced as well. Unfortunately, it is not West Ham in it. I would love to see West Ham in it, but things didn't happen. Aaron Cresswell had a brain fade. He was going to be in the running for who went in two-footed, but another player has pipped him, although I think he can be an honorary recipient of that award. Sure. But yeah, it just wasn't meant to be for West Ham. However, it was meant to be for Rangers. And John Lundstrom, James Tavernier, and Kamara have etched themselves into Rangers folklore. There's something about these European nights, whether it's in Champions League, Europa League, or even the Conference League. Roma making the final, Jose Mourinho crying on the touchline. It's a special competition. All 3 of them, they're special. They're different. They're unique. There's not a structure. There's not a playoff system. There's nothing in the world that compares to these nights. Nothing in the world. So, I mean, I do think it's so obviously we have the Real Madrid Liverpool Champions League final. We have a Rangers versus Frankfurt Europa League final. It's good to see Adrian Hrstić, he's obviously a Socceroo, playing for Frankfurt in that final. It's going to be good to see. And then we obviously have Feyenoord versus Roma in the Conference League final. Leicester being knocked out in heartbreaking circumstances. So yeah, it's going to be one. I don't know when they're scheduled. I hope they're in back-to-back days. I hope it's like Friday, Saturday, Sunday in terms of in Australian time it would be. So it's going to be a big weekend of sport, that one. But we'll do a comprehensive preview for all 3 of those games down the track. Obviously not the time of it now, but I just wanted to speak about that because I was wrong. I held my hands up about the away goal thing, and I wanted to acknowledge how good European football is. But let's move on. Let's move across the Celtic. And let's move across the Celtic. Let's move across to Scotland, I should say, with Celtic and with Ange Postecoglou and his Celtic side winning the league. Is it confirmed? I do think it is confirmed, right? I hope it's confirmed. There's 6 points. There's 6 points, 2 games left, 20 plus goal difference. They've won the league all but confirmed. And I just want to... I won't talk a lot on this, but how good is it to see Alan Brazil? I just hope he's crying. I know he won't be, but for those who don't know, there was a TalkSport clip that went viral when Ange Postecoglou was announced as Celtic manager, and he basically was saying, who's this bloke? Where do they come up with these guys from? All this stuff. And do your research next time, mate, because I know I called this. I know many Australians called it. I know many aficionados of football called it. Ange Postecoglou is a special manager. Special manager. He will go on to do unbelievable things. One of the best exports in Australian football history. And there's no male making waves across Europe in the footballing sphere than Ange Postecoglou. However, there is a female that is making waves for Australia across Europe, and that is Sam Kerr. And Sam Kerr's led Chelsea to winning the league in the WSL. And as much as Chelsea won the league, that's great. I'm obviously happy about that. Sam Kerr's goal, go seek it out. It is footballing perfection. The way everything about that was just class. It was a second goal, I believe it is, in that game against Manchester United over the weekend. Yeah, I mean, you have two of the best footballing exports that this country's ever had winning the league in a matter of days from each other. It's beautiful, and despite how often we complain about the state of football in this country, our exports are doing some good things. So shout out to Ange and Sam Kerr. They're doing something special. They're creating something special, and I hope Ange, as much as I want him to go on and be that elite manager that I know he will be, I hope he stays with Celtic for a while. I hope he cements his legacy in there, becomes a hero, becomes an icon, and then moves on into the sunset to a bigger, shouldn't have said bigger, but to a better team, and then moves on from there. But let's move on, and let's move away from Australian exports, and let's move on to my team, Chelsea, the last talking point of the episode, and it is the Todd Bohely consortium has been officially ticked off as the new owners of Chelsea Football Club. Now, I am very happy about this. I am, because obviously there was the whole Barney about the Ricketts family owning them and then owning Chelsea, and then obviously they pissed off back to ruining whatever American team they own, right? This was the consortium. I did some research about it when it was like narrowed down to 4. When it was narrowed down to four bidders, I did research on each of the bidders just to see what my club could be owned, what my club's future could look like. And Todd Bohely was the one that stood out to me. Obviously, Chelsea season ticket holder, been at every game, I assume. Well, he's been at most games this season. Fan of Chelsea since he was young. Yeah, I am very happy about this as a Chelsea supporter, and it's now the Bohely era has begun. It is now a new era of Chelsea Football Club. We have escaped the very prestigious shackles of Roman Abramovich and his ruthless style of owning the club, which has led to much success, no doubt. 2 Champions Leagues, 5 Premier Leagues, a couple of FA Cups, 2 Europa Leagues, countless other trophies, right? Champions of the world, etc. Super Cup winners, I could go on. But we are now into a new era, and we're now into a new era with new expectations, both on the board and both in the team, from a team perspective. Now, obviously, we all know Roman Abramovich's totalitarian style of owning the club in terms of you performed poorly for 3 games, you're sacked. Type manager, type ownership, right? And like I said, it did bring us success, but we got Todd Bohely in now, and I hope that each manager now is given the equal treatment, and I hope that this football club can return to what it was. It's what it was a matter of 6 months ago. Maybe, no, not even 6. 9 months ago, winning the Champions League final in Porto, over the moon, signing Lukaku for 100 million. I know Lukaku's shit, but the investment side of things, I just hope that we can return to what we have been, because our club's been dragged through the mud in the past couple of months. The on-field performances have reflected that. It's just been very, very poor. So hopefully Todd Bohely can lead Chelsea to Premier League glory. I do think he will. I think Chelsea are are very, very, very close to breaking that next step and being alongside Liverpool and City. It's going to take a lot of rebuilding because half of our defenders are leaving. We've got Marcos Alonso having a spat with Tuchel at half time. We've got XYZ happening, right? So it's going to take a lot of investment. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of patience, and it's going to take a lot of buy-in from everyone involved to reshape this football club. So hopefully that they can do it. Hopefully Todd Bohely can lead Chelsea to Premier League glory. I do think he will. And hopefully I'll sit here in 12 months' time. Maybe not right here, but I'll speak to you in 12 months' time with Chelsea being in a final of a Champions League and with winning the Premier League, all but certain. Hopefully, that's the dream, right? That's the dream. So Todd Bohely, welcome. I say welcome as if I'm in Stamford Bridge. I'm just in my study in some house in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne. So, yeah, I mean, I'm happy that he's there. I'm happy that he's here. I'm happy that he's not right here, but I'm happy that he's the Chelsea chairman. I'm happy that he's the one that's leading this club forward. I feel like he's got the right intentions. I feel like that he will have the club at his foremost priority. I feel like everything should, fingers crossed, go smooth sailing from here. But let's move on and let's go to the only segment of this podcast, Who Went in Two-Footed. Now, normally this segment is just outlining a player or a staff member or a club or organisation or whoever that did something daft, did something stupid. Now, this player did do something daft and stupid, but he also legitimately went in two-footed. And I feel like this is the first time I've been able to say this person has both gone in two-footed in a literal sense and in a metaphoric sense. It was Luke Ayling, and 10 minutes into his side's game against Arsenal, he does the most stupid tackle on Eddie Nketiah, or was it Gabriel Martinelli? I think it was Gabriel Martinelli. It's the dumbest tackle I think I've ever seen, based on the circumstances. I know they were already 2-0 down. I know that he was already out of it for Leeds, but to get sent off in the way that he got sent off is just shocking. They in the biggest game of their season, they lost their heads, and he cost Leeds any chance of getting anything out of that game. And that tackle could send them down. And I mean, I'm not sure if he'll ever be forgiven for that, because that is just an appalling bit of leadership from a man that's been at Leeds for a long time and is meant to represent the value of Leeds. I mean, it's not good enough, and just not good enough. All right, let's move on. Actually, is there any Serie A title chat? Yeah, so did both Milan teams win? They did. All right, and Napoli won. So still 2 points. Inter still 2 points behind AC Milan. With, what is it? 2 games to go. Now, enough of that. Let's go into the preview. Let's go. There's nothing happening this week, to be honest. There's a couple of Premier League games midweek. North London derby on Friday morning for Australian time. Chelsea, Liverpool. Oh, fuck, the FA Cup final's on. I did not know at all. All right. Okay, quick prediction, FA Cup final. I actually thought it was like ages away. Why is it now? Why is it halfway through the... Okay, anyway. I completely forgot it was the FA Cup final. I would go with Chelsea on penalties. I don't think... fuck. I mean, Liverpool are probably going to win, aren't they? Let's be honest. But my heart says Chelsea on penalties. My head says Liverpool 1-0. We'll go with that. And then, obviously the North London derby, like we said, and then we'll speak again. Next week. I'm just shocked. I actually didn't realise. And obviously, Melbourne City versus Wellington Phoenix on tonight, and that game decides the Premier's plate. So, if City draw or lose, victory, win the Premier's plate. If City win, they win the Premier's plate. So it's going to be interesting to see that game. Now, my voice is shot to bits. My throat hurts, so I'm going to end this right now. 44 minutes. All right, that's good enough. Thank you all very much for watching another episode of the Two Footed Tackle podcast. I apologise if my voice, and it's slowly going, I can hear it. I apologise if my voice was at times hard to listen to. I am very tired. I'll be well rested for next week. Don't worry about it. So thank you all very much for watching. Stay well, stay safe. Enjoy the football, enjoy the FA Cup final. Let me know your predictions in the comments below of the YouTube, or tweet me them on Twitter if you want. So thank you all very much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe and do all that good jazz. Follow the Two Foot Tackle podcast on all the socials. Stay well, stay safe. See you guys next week. Goodbye.